Hey everybody, what's up from Pokemon Classics, reminding you that the classics never go out of style. Today's video is a bit of a TED Talk on the relationship between scarcity and saturation. And although these two factors aren't necessarily tied to one another, I think we do often see a bit of a cause and effect relationship between temporary scarcity and then resulting saturation in the aftermath. Anyway, before we break that down, I wanted to acknowledge that this weekend is going to be a pretty big weekend for Pokemon collecting. First, we have October 8th, the date that Pokemon Celebrations makes its release, and this is one of the most highly anticipated sets in Pokemon history. Next, on October 9th, we have a major Pokemon event. Pokemon Saves the World. It's a charity event, a box break of a first edition base set box, and you don't see that happen very often. A ton of Pokemon collectors, and some celebrities are involved, and I think that's going to be a pretty cool time for Pokemon. Lastly, a bit of a curveball here, but PWCC Auctions starts on October 11th, and this is the first one on their new independent platform, and it really is the first one in several months. So for a site that has previously acted as a sort of barometer for the Pokemon market, it'll be interesting to see how prices reflect the new reality of what we're going through as a market. Anyway, let's get back to scarcity and saturation. So I know this sounds counterintuitive, but oftentimes temporary scarcity can indirectly result in greater saturation. Check this out. So temporary scarcity obviously results in higher prices. That's just the nature of having fewer cards available on the market to purchase. We saw this last year in 2020 with modern cards. Cards were taken off shelves of major retailers like Walmart and Target and resold online at a higher price point. We also saw this with graded cards, as the amount of graded cards on the existing market wasn't nearly enough to satisfy demand. As a result, massive amounts of cards were submitted to grading companies like PSA, BGS, CGC, to the point where they had to raise their prices, and in some cases, even stop accepting submissions. Now, of course, with any major shift, the pendulum is going to swing in the opposite direction. And as those prices became higher, so too did the supply become intensified. We saw Pokemon start up the presses, start up the printers, and print more product than they ever have before. Similarly, we saw a massive influx in the amount of cards submitted to grading companies like PSA. And now that entire backlog is starting to hit the market, we're seeing the pendulum shift from scarcity to saturation. And this is where things get a little bit dangerous. Consumer psychology dictates the market, and when the overall sentiment is pessimistic and negative, that's going to drive the value of all of the cards in the market down lower than what it should be. Similarly, when the overall sentiment is overly positive and enthusiastic, that's going to inflate the value of many cards that perhaps don't have the fundamentals to back it up. I think what we need to recognize is that in both of these situations, there can be overreactions focusing on the market as a whole rather than the individual cards themselves. Having said that, we have been through similar cycles in the past, one of which that comes to mind was in 2016, when Pokemon was going through a similar hot streak with the 20th anniversary, the release of Pokemon Go, which was a worldwide phenomenon, and the release of the Evolution set, which was one of the most popular modern sets for Pokemon. All these things together, I think, are strikingly reminiscent of what we're seeing today. So as I mentioned earlier, this weekend is a really big weekend for Pokemon, and it could serve as another catalyst in the market, sparking some significant change. My reasons for that are the release of Celebrations on October 8th, coming up here this Friday, the amount of media coverage from Pokemon Saves the World. This event is going to be massive, and I'm really excited for it. And then the PWCC auctions could throw a curveball into the mix by actually yielding lower prices than usual, just due to the abundance and saturation of cards hitting the market for that auction, as well as the smaller user base since it's no longer on eBay. In fact, last I checked, there were 8,413 Pokemon cards available on that PWCC auction. That's a lot. Anyway, let's break each one of these down into a little bit more detail, starting with Pokemon Celebrations. First, Pokemon Celebrations is likely to be one of the highest demand Pokemon products ever released by Pokemon. This is the 25th anniversary set, and it features artworks from both Pokemon's past, present, and future, all merged together into one unique set. And I know some have criticized the lack of originality, and others have criticized the small set size, but I can tell you that I, as an old original vintage collector, have never been more excited for a modern set. And I think some of the reimagined artworks are absolutely amazing. Having said that, we've seen a lot of these cards already leaked early through social media, and already we're seeing cards priced out and scalped online for ridiculously high prices. In fact, I've seen ETBs going for over $100. I've seen just the Charizard card, a reprint of the base set, going for over $300. That's kind of ridiculous to think about, but at the same time, it does make sense. Pre-orders have been sold out for quite a while, and people are just eager to get their hands on product. This is again one of those situations of temporary scarcity where I'm sure that these cards are going to become more available and drop in price further in the future. But for now, having that immediacy and that demand carries a heavy premium to it. Personally, I would recommend being patient. If you're the type of person that's interested in collecting this set, you've been unable to locate any through pre-orders, and you're not able to find it in stores right away, I realize that's really unfortunate. That's going to be affecting me too. It's something I'm going to be waiting for. But I'm pretty confident in saying that eventually the supply will catch up to the demand and there will be cards available out there. With the numbers that Pokemon's printing, I don't think it'll be an ongoing problem for too long. I don't know what'll happen for sure. I don't know what the numbers are that Pokemon and Nintendo are printing, but I am eager to get a hold of this set, and I'm sure a number of you are as well. I think it's a really cool set. Also this weekend is the Pokemon Saves the World charity event. This is a first edition base set booster box break that's going to be live streamed on YouTube, featuring Steve Aoki, King Pokemon, Dumb Money TV, and a number of Pokemon collectors, YouTubers, and other celebrities coming together to raise money and awareness for autism and other brain-related charities. Now, as a teacher, this is something I'm very passionate about, is supporting and helping the community. And I'll be honest, this community of Pokemon has been incredibly supportive and amazing to me. I've met a lot of friends and had a lot of great experiences. Even talking to you guys here on YouTube is something I treasure. So when I got the invitation to come out to Las Vegas and be part of that, I couldn't say no. It was something that I was gladly on board for. And I even made this short promotional video to help advertise the event. So really excited for that. Looking forward to this weekend. I think it'll be a great time. However, it will be interesting to see what type of impact an event like this has on the Pokemon market. We've seen high-profile events like this in the past with celebrities and social media influencers. Logan Paul comes to mind back in 2020, which was almost exactly a year ago, when he launched his first edition base set box opening, and that sent major ripples across the Pokemon market. Now, it's true that this event is different in a number of ways. One, that event with Logan Paul was at the same time as government shutdowns, stimulus checks. There's also the novelty of Pokemon card collecting first showing up on people's radar. And now it's lost some of that newness and excitement. But I still think it would be naive to underwrite it entirely. We're going to see tons of Pokemon YouTubers and other social media influencers at this event, and many of them will likely be covering it and making content on the event itself. Now, some of those YouTubers are specifically Pokemon collectors, and so there'll be that influence within Pokemon. But a number of them are beyond Pokemon as well, and so they might have some sort of activity or stir up some influence for people that are not currently existing in the market. It's my hope that it doesn't overinflate everything once again, but that we can set aside this event as a chance to raise money and awareness and come together as a community for something productive, rather than just being another one of those situations where people point fingers at who's to blame for higher prices or product backlogs. I'd really prefer it not to happen that way. But again, I think it would be naive to think that an event like this wouldn't at least create some attention and publicity for Pokemon as a whole. I guess we'll wait and see on that one. The factor that has me uncertain, though, is how PWCC auctions will affect the marketplace moving forward. Now, it's no secret that PWCC and eBay recently split and branched off from one another, with PWCC creating their own independent platform for auctioning graded cards. Now, PWCC has served as a sort of barometer for Pokemon graded cards for the last year, and arguably longer. They're one of the biggest places that have auctioned cards in the past, creating comps or comparable prices for other sales moving forward. The interesting thing to note is whether or not that'll be the case now, with PWCC appealing to a much smaller consumer base since they're no longer on eBay. In fact, PWCC hasn't ran an auction in several months, and this auction is going to be massive, with over 8,400 Pokemon cards currently listed, and more presumably along the way before the auction begins on October 11th. With this new platform, with this massive supply, and potentially fewer buyers on the platform, I think it's not unlikely that we see a number of cards go for lower prices than they have all summer long, even when traditionally the fall sees a slight uptick in prices for cards. I don't know how these factors are going to balance out. Potentially lower prices from PWCC versus increased media attention and lack of available supply in Modern for Pokemon celebrations. It really is a lot to take in, and I don't think anyone can accurately predict how this is going to play out. But I did want to bring all of these different things to your attention so that you could make an educated decision as we get into what could be one of the most important weekends for Pokemon in a long time. Now, I will say that PWCC's massive supply of graded cards in this upcoming auction could be taken as a great example of temporary saturation acting as an inflection point for the market as a whole. What I mean by this is we've seen some really large PSA returns coming back in videos from places like Graded Gem that had just sent out thousands and thousands of cards. In fact, I saw one figure online, I don't know how accurate it was, talking about 183,000 cards, Pokemon cards, graded in just the month of September. If that's true, that is a ton of cards. And it would make sense that a number of collectors, after waiting a whole year, are trying to deleverage their cards and instantly liquidate a number of items as quickly as possible to recoup some of their initial investment. If that's the case, we're going to see this affecting the whole market as these cards go through at significantly lower than usual prices. How long can that be sustainable before the pendulum shifts the other direction, right? Because the pendulum always shifts. It's like a grandfather clock. And once all that supply is gone, well, then we're back to where we started and scarcity starts increasing once again. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I do think this is one of those situations where some of the items that are truly scarce, that are truly rare, that are in great condition, get swept under the rug. There may be some buying opportunities in this auction. I'll be watching, I'll tell you that much. Anyway, guys, I think we're going to wrap this one up by returning to my earlier statement that taking market sentiment as a whole of either being favorable or highly unfavorable is erroneous at best and just foolish at worst, because it's the individual items within the market that are ultimately worth examining. And as a collector or investor, there are certain fundamentals that go into each of those items that we need to be aware of. Things like scarcity, rarity, condition, historical context, and popularity all come together to determine whether an asset is worth buying. And there are always going to be buying opportunities in any given market. Don't let the overall market sentiment of being a down bearish market or a bull market to the moon stonkers alert dictate whether or not you should buy something or sell something and how much you should do so. Let your own independent research help determine that. We've been through this cycle before. For me personally, the most recent one I can think of was in 2016 going into 2017, when the market did something very similar after the release of Evolutions, the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, and Pokemon Go. There was a pretty significant retrace there, and I passed up on those prices of attaining some cards that I will likely never have the opportunity to buy again. And as a result, my collection will likely never be completed. So take that for what you will. I'm not telling you to buy something that you don't want to buy. I'm not telling you to sell something that you don't want to sell. What I'm telling you is to enjoy the ride while it lasts, enjoy collecting, and enjoy each other's company. Ultimately, that's what this is all about. And if we can enjoy some cardboard and some artwork as we do it, that's what we're here for, right? Anyway, guys, I'm Pokemon Classics, reminding you that the classics never go out of style. We'll see y'all with the next video. Till then, stay well, have fun, everybody. See ya.